different. So I just had to adjust some things. Hey everybody, if you was over there on the Instagram, I got my mic. I got my mic. I hope y'all can hear me. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Okay, y'all. So I hope y'all can hear me well. I had to let the wellness community and everybody know that I was here on the YouTube for the live. I hope the chat is. Hey, Lady T, I was just about to say. I hope the chat is working well and everything. What's poppin', Lanika, my girl? What's poppin', Lanika? Yes, yes. Hey, Shay, Indigo, Phoenix. How y'all doing? Natty, my girl. Hey, Natty. See, this is my folks. This is why I rock with YouTube. We family. In my mind, we family. If the mic sounding a little in and out, let me see. Hold on. Probably because I'm a little too loud in it. Let me turn it down a little bit. Probably because I'm a little too loud in it. Okay. Hey, y'all. Hey, everybody. We family, y'all. We family. Okay, let me make sure. Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure everything plugged up. Okay. Okay. Y'all see, I tried to do the Instagram. It's breaking up. Hold on. Know if my mic is better. I'm talking now. Let me know if it's better. Let me act like I got some sense. My mic said, girl, calm down. Is it better? Is it better? Hey there. Okay. Yes, you caught it live. You caught it live. Y'all tell me if the mic is sounding okay. Okay, so I can make sure. So we can continue on with the conversation. The Instagram was trying to block my blessing. They didn't want me to speak my speakings. Okay, it's good. Okay, thank you. I know the comments be delayed, so it takes a while for the comments to come through. Divine, hey, Divine Queen, greetings, greetings. Okay, okay, thank you, thank you. So I was on Instagram. If you caught me over there, let me tell you how God worked. It's back. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't know. Let It's breaking. I don't know. Let me try to do it without the mic and see if that. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, what? Hold on. Wait. What you mean is back choppy? Y'all, the internet is back choppy, or is the mic back choppy? What's choppy? The internet? Or I just unplugged the mic. Okay, so if it might be my. Let me see. You said both. Yes, I just turned my Wi-Fi off. Maybe it's the Oh, it's the internet. Oh, y'all made the internet connection, not the mic. Oh, okay. It probably was my Wi-Fi. I just turned my Wi-Fi off. It disconnect. Both is good now. Okay. Yes, it was the internet. Oh, see, look, I was ready to cuss out the Instagram. Me. I'm the drama. I was the problem the whole time. I was ready to cuss out the Instagram. I thought they was hating on me on the Instagram. And the whole time, I'm the problem. Anyway, y'all, I'm still going to keep the conversation on here. I'm still keeping the conversation on here. You know, see, let me tell y'all about black folks. What funny is, on the Instagram, as soon as it started breaking up, right? On the Instagram, as soon as it started breaking up, everybody was like, they want to block her message. That's the man. The man is trying to block her, y'all. It's me. I was the man. I was the problem. I was like, Instagram is hating. It's the ghetto. So I don't do them. And it's me. The devil is a liar. The devil was the internet. I was the problem. Sorry. But you say love my live on TikTok the other night. Thank you, Lady T. Okay, y'all. Okay. So let's get back into it. Let's get back into it. All right. I belong over here with my family anyway. Okay. Back into it. So, what was I froze? Cute. That's what we got to. Carice. Is it Carice or Carice? Was I froze cute? Or did they catch me in a did they catch me looking crazy? Or was I cute? But okay. So listen, let's get back into it, right? So if you was on Instagram Live a few minutes ago, you know exactly what I was talking about. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sink. You know what I was talking about. I was talking about the documentary, The Descendants. I am not going to go back through the breakdown of the documentary, but I gave a brief description of the documentary, and essentially overall it's telling the story of Africa Town and the descendants of the ancestors who were on the last slave ship brought to America from Benin. Okay, Clotilda. In the documentary, they found Clotilda, and the descendants, it ended with the descendants asking, what about reparations? And no response from the family, who's very wealthy and running the town, basically, right? So I ended the Instagram by saying, like, you know, it's like it feels like the same old trauma again and again. It feels like the same old story again and again and again and again. Like, we know what happened. We know what occurred, you know. And something I talked about on my social medias was how, you know, it's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate to me that a lot of our ancestors told their stories. A lot of our ancestors shared. They kept the oral tradition alive, right? They continue to tell the story. They continue to tell us what was going on, what happened. They told us again and again and again and again. And there's never no solution. There's never no reparations. There's never anything that ever comes from it, you know? So what should be our response? What should we do in that case, right? Of course, the topic of reparations have been never ending. We know that reparations is a valuable thing. We know reparations is a valuable tool because they've given it to so many other groups who have suffered oppression. They've given it to so many other groups who have essentially been done wrong. So we know that they understand how reparations work and they understand the value of reparations, but they just ain't giving it to us. So what does reparations look like for us? Because they're not going to give it to us. So how can we give it to ourselves? And that's why I promote Ancestor Veneration so much. That's why I talk about Ancestor Veneration the way I do. Because to me, Ancestor Veneration is our reparations. Ancestor Veneration is our way that we can heal and repair, right? It's our way that we can make right. It's our way that we can make whole. So this is why I talk about Ancestor Veneration so much. Because as I was watching that documentary, all I could think about was how many times the elders and the ancestors tried to tell that story and was told it was crazy. Because there was no ship that had been found. I had been thinking about so many times that they probably was like, hey, y'all, this happened. And so many people was like, oh, that's just the old story they be telling. Them folks don't know what they talking about. So many times. And they was denied. Reparations is that documentary. Reparations is finding that ship. Reparations is saying their name over and over and over. Reparations is Africa Town still standing and existing. Reparations is those descendants not letting it go. Reparations is those descendants getting together to celebrate. That is reparations, right? And that's why I put up the post today where I was saying, you know, an issue I have with the where do we come from thing, or I shouldn't even say where do we come from. I'm gonna make it plain. When you have black people, specifically African Americans, right? Or black people in America, I should say, black Americans, and they say, well, stop calling yourself African American because we are not African. We come from right here. This is our homeland. We are indigenous people. I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. Like I said, I've looked at the evidence. I see where you're coming from and why you say we are indigenous people. I see you say this is us. But as I said earlier, multiple things can be true. Yes, there's evidence that we've been here, whether we came through exploration. Hey, Universal Lighthouse, Sean, can I make you a moderator, please? Can I please make you a moderator? I don't want to put it on you without asking consent. Please. Okay. I get where you're coming from. There's also evidence that our ancestors, some of them came from Africa. There's evidence of that too. And when we talk about reparations, right, we talk about making people, thank you, Sean. We talk about making people, making our ancestors whole and telling our whole story and feeding them spiritually and mentally and physically. We talk about that, right? What I want to consider is, as opposed to saying stop calling yourself African, as opposed to saying we are indigenous to this land, you can say that, but let's not delete the history of our ancestors who were on those ships. Let's not delete the history of our ancestors who were on. You set my Wi-Fi back on. Y'all think so? I give it a try. Back on. Am I breaking up? Let me see. Okay, the Wi-Fi back on. It may take it some time to set. It may take it some time to set. It may take it some time to set. It's back on. Okay, so y'all let me know if y'all can hear me now. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. Is it good now? It's okay now? Okay, perfect. Okay, hey, Royal Guidance. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, but yes, instead of deleting Africa, instead of deleting our history, because when we do that, we disrespect ancestors. When people say, okay, well, we are indigenous. Some of us, yes. My ancestors, I'm not a descendant of slaves. My ancestors came from the transatlantic slave trade. Absolutely, that's a possibility, yes. My ancestors came here afterward or during. That's also a possibility, yes. And when we talk about ancestor veneration as reparations, we got to honor all of the possibilities. We have to honor all of these, right? We have to honor that. We have to tell all of the stories. So I'm not here for deleting any story, and I'm also not here for dismissing any story. I don't think, when I hear people talk about us being Moors, I'm like, I feel that. We are the Moors. I feel that. Some of us. Black Israelites. We are the original Israelites. We are the original. I feel that. Some of us, I feel that. There are multiple truths out there. The problem is when we try to battle each other, we try to stop each other. We try to change each other's identity. Don't identify as that. As I said, that discord was happening in the comments of when I did the Egypt video. That discord was happening. A lot of people was like, don't say black. We are not black. Don't say African American. We are not African Americans. Some of us are. Some of us are. We don't have to discredit each other's identity, because when you discredit someone's identity, you are discrediting the accuracy of their history. You're dismissing part of history. When you dismiss that part of history, you dismiss all the ancestors associated with that history. Okay? So that is the problem. When we have the all mentality, ain't none of us black. We are all indigenous. Ain't none of us indigenous. We are all descendants of slaves. That's when it becomes a problem. Multiple truths can occur at the same time. We are an assorted array of people. So again, when I speak about ancestor veneration as reparations, I'm speaking about honoring all of those stories. Let's honor the Cotilda and the ancestors that was on that last ship that came from Benin. Let's honor that. Let's study Benin. Let's research Benin. Let's talk to some people who are currently in Benin. How can we honor you? How can we show respect to your culture? That's reparations. See, I'm for, let's bring this back together. Let's make this back whole. So when I talk about traveling, right, and I always tell y'all, when I travel, I like to study religion and spirituality in various places because I'm very respectful of studying culture. Religion and spirituality is a large part of culture, and I'm very understanding of that. Okay, and when I go over there and I study and I take in, okay, and I'm retaining the information, retaining the knowledge, and I'm relating it back to some of our practices that we have here. When I travel, I can't help but to see us everywhere. Okay, so when we talk about in my a while ago, a couple days ago, I talked about ethnicities, right? And how people was like, some people was like, black is not an ethnicity, black is a race. It's important to understand the difference between the two. Race is based or determined by physical traits. Race is about physical traits. So when you say someone is black, you are insinuating that they have black physical traits. The issue with race, and the reason why they say race is a social construct, because when you say that, when you say black physical traits or black physical features, you are saying that someone who doesn't have those stereotypical black physical features is not black. That's where it becomes problematic. And that's the same thing with any other race. But when we talk about ethnicity, ethnicity is culture. So race is physical traits, ethnicity is culture. There can be a multitude of ethnicities, and a person can identify under a multitude of ethnicities, right? So the thing is, right, when we talk about black as ethnicity, we're speaking about black culture. Okay, we're speaking about black culture. You have African American ethnicity because African American is a culture. People who grew up black in America, African descent in America, have a whole culture. We have a lot of cultural commonalities, similar experiences. That's a culture. And then you could break it down even further and go into African American culture of the North, of the South, of the Midwest, of the West. All of these can be ethnic identities. All of these can also become intersectionalities. Because I am black, I have a universal black culture that I can connect culturally to African descendants all throughout the diaspora as well as on the continent. As I said, everywhere I go, I am. I see myself everywhere. I see cultural practices in black folks everywhere. I met Aboriginals in Mexico, black folks in Mexico. I'm like, oh, y'all do that? We do that too. Y'all play hand games. Y'all grew up playing hand games. We did that too. That's black culture. Hand games is black culture. Seasoning food, no matter what type of seasoning you use, when you go to the continent, they're going to make sure that food is seasoned. I don't care what country you go to. They ain't cooking nothing plain. That's black culture. All throughout the diaspora, all throughout the continent. One thing about us, we're going to season that food. One thing about us is most of us going to have some rhythm. Most of us could feel that drum beat in our bones. That's one thing we got in common. That's a black cultural universal experience. Okay, those herbs, ashe, those herbs, that's culture. Okay, we do that. So again, I think it's very important to acknowledge ethnicity. I think it's important to acknowledge intersectionality. Something I love is in that video today, I talked about, I said, when I was saying like if multiple things can be true, like, some of us can be indigenous and some of us can also be of African descent. And I love the people that was commenting and saying, I'm both. Because that's an intersectionality. You know that your ancestors were both indigenous and African. That's a beautiful thing. So when we speak about ancestor veneration as reparations, what we're talking about is reclaiming our cultural practices. We're talking about reclaiming our identities. We're talking about reclaiming our spiritual practices. That's what we're talking about here. That's what's important here. Okay, so what we cannot do is allow each other to erase each other's history. Because you ain't doing nothing different than the very oppression that we're trying to overcome. Every time somebody and you say you are not African, you ain't a descendant of Africa, you are doing the very thing that you hate that they do. We got to stop that. Every time I hear somebody say that, I think about our ancestors' bodies that's at the bottom of that water, that's at the bottom of the Atlantic. I think about them. Every time you say African trade wasn't real, I think about the ancestors that's floating at the bottom of that ocean, the ones that are there, the bones, the ones that transmuted and transformed. I think about them. What about them? What about their story? What about their story? That's what I think about. That's what I think about. Thank y'all, moderators, for getting them the Thank y'all, moderators. But yes, I think about them. So again, when we speak about ancestor veneration as reparations, let's start reclaiming those practices. So let's get into ancestor veneration. Let's get into some ways that we can pay honor and homage to our ancestors, okay? Let's think about that. Because it's important to honor all of them. So the that we do is as opposed to shooting down each other's identities, discrediting each other's identities, let's share. To my brothers and sisters who feel that we are indigenous, we are indigenous, you have in your indigenous culture, what are some spiritual practices that you hold? Share that. To my Moorish brothers and sisters, the ones who identify as Moors, what are some spiritual practices? What are some ways that you venerate the ancestors? Share that. To our African American brothers and sisters who identify as descendants of our enslaved ancestors, let's talk about some ways that we venerate our ancestors. Let's share that. And I'm okay with gatekeeping because, see, this is another thing. I actually got a video that's already recorded, but I'm hesitant to put it out. I ain't gonna lie. In the comments of one of my TikToks, a Native American indigenous person, an indigenous Native American, commented, and they said, you know, I have mentioned sage, but I just said sage, and they said, can you please not to practice? They said, and I recorded a response, but I haven't posted it yet because I feel like it needs more clarification, but 3 minutes ain't long enough for me to clarify all this, so I'm gonna clarify it now. In a response, I said, you know, I respect the gatekeeping. It's choppy, it's choppy, it's choppy. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I put the Wi-Fi back on. I don't know what to do. Let me look. Hold on 1 second. Let me see. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'ma check. Okay, y'all. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, it's clear now. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. All right. Okay, rebuke it. Yes, rebuke it, Lady Empress. But the thing is, it's clear. Perfect. Okay. So I was saying that, you know, in the response to the Native American indigenous sister who asked to tell people, she asked me to tell people to not burn white sage because it's a closed practice. In the video, I said, I respect that. I said, I respect that, but I think it needs more clarification, right? Because I think gatekeeping is important. Thank you. I think gatekeeping is important. I think it's also important for us to gatekeep from each other. But let me explain. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. We know that. Shout out to Zora Neale Hurston. We know that, right? We know all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So sometimes we got to gatekeep from each other. Think about earlier what I said about ethnicities. Within ethnicities, there are multiple identities, right? Somebody can have intersectionality where you can have multiple identities. You can be African, You said try TikTok. Oh, let's see. Is it still breaking up? Okay, but the multiple ethnicities. You can be African, but you can also identify with the culture of the places, right? Of the place that you're raised, right? So you're African. You identify with African culture because African is an ethnicity. Okay, so you can identify with African culture, but say if you're from Benin, you can also identify with the culture of being from Benin. And then you can also identify with your culture, your tribe within Benin. So if you're from Ghana, you can identify with African culture as a whole. You can identify with Ghanaian culture as a whole. You may identify with the ethnicity of being Ghanaian. So you identify as African. You identify as Ghanaian. But you can also identify as Ga, right? Ga is a tribe. You can identify as Ashanti. Ashanti is a tribe, right? So all of these different ethnicities, all these different identities come into play. I think it's important that we respect gatekeeping within these intersectionalities. And I'm going to explain how I have been gate kept against. And I respect that. I respect that. I identify as Black culture as a whole. I also identify as African American. Okay? I also identify as Panamanian American. My father is from Panama. My father's a Black man from Panama. He is a descendant of slaves in Panama. His folks was dropped off during the Panama Canal time period. Okay? So I identify with that as well. Absolutely. Identify with being Gullah. That's a tribe that we have here. Okay? So all of these identities are important. When I go to South Africa and I'm studying with the Sangomas, the healers in South Africa, they taught me a lot. They shared a lot with me. But there were some things that they said, we can't teach you this because you are not blood. I respect that. Gatekeep, baby. Gatekeep. 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 I respect that. What you need me to leave the room? Y'all need me to turn around? What y'all need me to do? I respect that. I respect it. When I'm in Ghana and I'm being taught the Akan spiritual traditions, they telling me, okay, well, we about to mix something. We need you to turn. I'm turned. I'm not trying to peek. I'm not trying to sneak or nothing. I respect that. Gatekeep. You don't know me. I could possibly be blood, but you don't know that for sure. So you can't take no chances, and I respect that because I wouldn't either. I wouldn't take no chances neither. I respect that. So I think it's important that we respect gatekeeping. I feel like in the Black community especially, we talk a lot about gatekeeping, but what we hate when we get kept against. Let's just be for real. Let's just be for real. We hate when we get kept against. So we talking about ancestor veneration as a form of reparations, right? And we talking about it's important of no matter how you identify, let's talk about honoring these ancestors and venerating these ancestors as a whole. Let's share some spiritual practices. Let's share some cultural traditions. But also, it's okay to gatekeep some things too, just for you and yours. I respect that. Okay, so I want to be mindful. To say both. Let's share, but also gatekeep some things for you, too. Gatekeep some things for you too. I respect that. Okay, so again, let's just be mindful of that. But again, ancestor veneration is reparations. Let's come together and let's share. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss. I find it interesting that anytime I bring this, right, because I'm going to have the conversation. I love talking to my people who, we are Moors. Okay, cool. You believe that you don't even really have to, because I've gotten beyond that point, because I've tried to have this discussion where I'm like, okay, some of us, and they like, no, all of us. And I'm like, all right, y'all, I ain't even in the mood to have an argument. But I'm like, okay, so what now? So what now? Because that's the battle. That's the battle. So what now? Okay, you won. We are Moors. You won. We're Moors. So what now? How can we venerate our ancestors now? What we gonna do now? How can we create a shift now? How can we place these spiritual reparations now? We are the Black Israelites. We are the original. Okay, cool. You got it. You won. What now? What now? Share. What we doing? We got an altar. We praying. We putting out some candles. What we doing? What we doing? You got it. You won. What now? So that's why I'm ready to progress the conversation. I'm ready to progress the conversation. What now? What now? I'm tired of battling about identities. What now? You identify how you identify. I identify how I identify. What now? What are we going to do now? Because when I finished watching the documentary, that's what I left feeling like. I left feeling like, okay, so what now? Y'all found the ship. Y'all verified the ancestor story. What now? Because they not going to give you no reparations. That Mayer family is not going to come up off them coins. So what now? What can we do? Absolutely. What's next? Let's move forward. I'm for making these spiritual reparations because I believe the spiritual affects the mental. The spirit, y'all know I always say the spirit leads the mind leads the body. That's when you know you are in true alignment. That's being spirit led. The spirit leads the mind leads the body. So hell with them physical reparations, what's the spiritual reparations we can make? Because anytime you tell me you are not African American, we did not come from Africa, you disrespected my ancestors, stop talking to me. I'm not allowing that. I'm blocking you. I'm deleting that message because you're not even spreading that misinformation on my page. Because I respect your identity. I respect your indigenous ancestors. I'm not acknowledging that. Only conversation moving forward is I respect your identity, you respect mine. What now? What's some spiritual reparations we could do to bring our ancestors together to work as a force spiritually? What can we do? With that being stated, let's talk about ancestor veneration and honoring our blood. Honoring our blood, however you identify. Wherever you feel like your ancestors come from. Honor that. When you honor your blood, you're honoring your lineage. When you honor your blood, you're honoring your DNA. When you honor your blood, you're honoring every aspect that created you. That's the ultimate form of ancestor veneration. When you are honoring that blood, when you're using that blood, right? I talked to y'all before about DNA workings. In the TikTok live video, I had put it if you look at that was the 2 hour, 44 minutes, 44-second video that I posted a couple days ago. If you look at that video, I put it in the timestamps, DNA working, right? And I was talking a little bit about the blood and the power of the blood. And when we honor our blood, thank you, Erica Day. I appreciate that. I like how you spell your name too. I never saw that version with the 2 Ks. But the thing about honoring the blood is honoring our DNA. Anytime you have an altar, anytime you practice an ancestor veneration, some aspect of your DNA needs to be a part of it. Okay? Absolutely. It's honoring ourselves too. Some aspect of your DNA needs to be a part of it. Now, DNA could be hair from the root. DNA could be hair. DNA could be fingernail clippings. DNA could be anything that involves your DNA. But the ultimate DNA is that blood. That's the ultimate DNA. So, what can you do to honor your blood? First off, the best way to honor your blood is taking care of your body. Take care of your body. Get you some burdock. Burdock is a herb. Get you some burdock. B-U-R-D-O-C-K. Burdock. Get you some burdock. That's a blood purifier. Burdock is really good. Bladderwrack. Yes, thank you so much. Bladderwrack is good as well. Bladder, B-L-A-D-D-E-R-W-R-A-C-K. Bladderwrack, but it's one word. Bladderwrack. So you get you some burdock and some bladderwrack. Yes, burdock root is excellent. Those are good for the blood. Take care of your blood. Cleanse your blood. Okay? Cleanse your blood. The thing about taking care of our blood is we know that our blood is seen as our life force. Chlorophyll is also good, absolutely. The blood is our life force. This is why y'all know my auntie was a Jehovah's Witness. Y'all know that. Let me make sure I don't got the lips, the gump lips. My auntie was Jehovah's Witness, and y'all know they don't believe in blood transfusions, right? And the reason they don't believe in blood transfusions is because they say the blood is the life force. It's the life force. And they say you shouldn't do blood transfusions because when you do blood transfusions, you are infusing yourself with someone else's life force. That is the Jehovah's Witness belief. Now, me, myself, personally, I will cleanse their life force when I wake up. Infuse me if needed, okay? Transfuse me if I need it. Hello? I will cleanse their force when I get up. I will take a spiritual bath. I will smudge. Transfuse me if I need it. That's my personal belief. But I respect them. I respect them. You know, I get where they coming from. Huh? I feel it. I feel it. Nettle is also good too. Nettle is good for the pum pum. Y'all don't get me to talking about the herbs too much. Nettle is good for the pum pum too. That was one of the herbs I took. Ooh, matter of fact, that's a good segue. It's talking about the blood, right? Because that was one of the herbs I took to help cleanse out my womb and help ease my menstrual. Okay, that's how powerful that nettle is. That nettle and that dung quai. For all my womb carriers. Okay, you take that nettle and that dung quai, and that thing gonna ease up your menstrual. My menstrual went from 7 days to 3 days. I went from 7 to 9 days. I used to go as long as 9 days sometime, and it cut all the way down to 3 days. I went from going to heavy cramps to no cramps. Y'all, sometimes I be having, if it wasn't for a calendar, I wouldn't even know my menstrual is coming, because that's how, thank God, that's how easy it is now. That nettle and that dung quai is excellent. Nettle, dung quai, burdock root, bladderwrack. That mix right there, I'm telling y'all, that's the blood mix. Take care of that blood because, you know, like I was saying, it is the life force. It is the life force. Okay? So when you take care of your blood and you make sure you heal your blood and you work well with your blood, the thing about it, right? We use that a lot in our spiritual workings. And that's why, you know, growing up for a lot of us, especially if you grew up hoodoo or grew up in black culture, black culture as a whole, because this is not just something that we say here in America. This is something that black folks say all throughout the diaspora and on the continent. When they say, when you tell them young boys, don't you eat that girl spaghetti? Don't you, how many people grew up hearing that? Don't you eat at everybody's house. No, they used to tell the young men, don't you eat that girl spaghetti. She gonna root you. Don't you eat from that girl. What they were saying, she gonna put some blood in there. She gonna put some blood in there. That was a dangerous game. That was a dangerous game to play. You don't eat from folks. You don't eat from folks. And guess what? They say something similar on the continent about not eating from people because you don't want to accidentally consume some of their DNA. You don't want to because they could do some spiritual workings against you. They'll have a hold on you, have power and control over you. Okay? That's how deep that goes. That's how deep that runs. So we got to consider that. Think about that. All of these stories have been verified. These are not just superstitions. It was a sister, you know, sister, if you're watching this, it's no shade to you, babes, okay? I really liked her video. She had stitched one of my videos, and I really liked her video. But what I did not care for is that she kept calling them superstitions. She kept saying hoodoo superstitions, hoodoo superstitions. And I feel like when we add the term superstitions, we take away some of the truth, some of the power. When we say superstitions, it infers doubt. It infers doubt. Ain't no doubt about the power of the blood. That made me think of the gospel song, "The blood will never lose its power." Ain't no doubt about the power of the blood. Okay? Ain't no doubt about that. Okay? Yes, you said superstitions just means something you don't believe in. Yes, I feel like when we say superstitions, it puts a sprinkle of doubt over it. And we got to be careful with that, especially when we talking about ancestral wisdom. That's what I consider it, ancestral wisdom. Thank you so much, Chanel, for that list. Ancestral wisdom. Okay, that's what I think about. That's what I call it. That's what I consider it. That's ancestral wisdom that they was passing down. When they said, don't you eat out everybody's house, don't you eat that girl spaghetti, don't you drink everybody tea, everybody herbs, don't let everybody play over your food, don't let folks sweep your feet. That's ancestral wisdom. And then when somebody sweep your feet, what you supposed to do? When somebody try to sweep your feet, they say that they're sweeping out your blessings. They trying to sweep away your power, your protection. And what you supposed to do in order to take it back? You supposed to spit on the broom. DNA. Spit on the broom. Somebody sweep your feet, you supposed to spit on the broom. DNA. You reclaiming your power. That's my broom now. And how it's supposed to go is if you sweep somebody's feet, this the full tale. When you sweep somebody's feet and they got to spit on the broom, you're supposed to then put the broom out the back door. That's what you're supposed to do so it can reset itself, reset its energy. So you're not supposed to just keep sweeping the house after they spit on the broom. You're supposed to put the broom out the back door. That's what you're supposed to do. Give it a chance to recharge, right? But that just speaks again, it verifies the power of the DNA. Verifies the power of the DNA. You say, oh Lord, you always hear, okay, I ain't never heard that when you're gonna go to jail. But but yes, that verifies the power of the DNA. You know, when we talk about, somebody said hair school, you said I was in hair school and I swept this girl's feet and she took the broom and spat on it. Absolutely. But speaking of hair, when, think about all of us who grew up and you don't just leave your hair, you brush your hair, you got hair that come out, and then you don't just leave your hair laying around. You got to either flush it or burn it. You flush it or burn it, but you don't put it in the trash and you don't leave it laying around. You flush it or you burn it. DNA. It could be used for workings. That's what it was about. Okay, so if you doing spiritual work of any kind, when you manifesting or anything like that, you need to be sure, y'all, Diddy. Camera time, now go. There you go, Diddy. There you go, Diddy. You got your little time. Come on, one more time. There we go, Diddy. Okay. Listen, so when you're doing your spiritual workings, be sure, please, to impart some DNA. But I advise that when you are manifesting, you put a little blood on it. Put a little blood. I said put a little blood. Put a little blood on it. When I say put a little blood on it, I mean if you writing down your manifestation, you put a little blood on it. Put a little drop of blood on it. You doing any type of altar work, make sure you got some type of blood on your altar. Now, how can you get this blood? That is up to you. Okay, everybody is different on how they choose to do it. Now, it don't have to be no extreme amount, okay? Like, say, for example, if you have a journal, right, where I advise everybody have this, but you have a manifestation journal, okay? Say for an example, you get a little nick, a little cut or something, right? Or you could go grab paper towel. There's a couple options, right? I'm speaking to someone who's done all of this. You get a little cut or get a little nick, and you grab that paper towel and you wrap your paper towel up in it, right? A man, or I ain't even gonna say a man because everybody grow a little facial hair, okay? All genders grow facial hair. So say if you are a facial hair grower and you nick yourself, okay? You get you a little paper towel or you got a little cut on your hand, get you a little paper towel. You put that in your manifestation journal. You tuck that in your manifestation journal. Don't you let that good blood go to waste. Tuck that in your manifestation journal. Tuck that. Go set that right there on your altar. Okay? Set that on your altar. All right? Now, for the womb carriers, you got it a little easier because you got blood coming once a month. And the thing about that womb blood is, as I said in the TikTok live, that's powerful. It's powerful because that's generational. A woman is born with her generations inside her body. Okay? And I believe, that's my personal belief, all of those generations are not meant to manifest in human form. Okay, so we listen now. We about to get real. How can we about to get real controversial here? Okay, about to get real controversial here. All generations are not meant to manifest in human form. To my sisters who say, I don't want to have children, that does not mean that you are not manifesting generations. To the sisters who only had one child, that does not mean that you only manifested one human or one being of the next generation. Sometimes we birth spiritual children. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother live. Sometimes we birth spiritual children. Your children are not all meant to be birthed in human form. Sometimes you birth spiritual children, and this is for all genders. We birth spiritual children. Sometimes we are babies having babies spiritually. Sometimes you are experiencing things and it's not because it's your personal karma. Sometimes it's the karma of the children you have birthed. And this does not, when I say karma, y'all know, if you know me, you know I ain't talking about good or bad. I'm talking about energy being returned unto you. That energy is the energy of the children you have birthed spiritually. Okay? So let me just make that clear. Back to the womb carrying. When you are born with all of the generations that you will carry inside of you. And you will birth children, whether physically or spiritually. You will birth children. When you work with that womb blood, you are working with the DNA of the future generations. You are working with the magic of the future generations that you carry. For men who ejaculate, I advise that you also collect your semen. You also need to collect your semen because your semen could also be used just as that menstrual blood could be used. If you are in a relationship and y'all could put the two together, if you want to manifest as a collective, say you and your spouse, you and your significant other are trying to have a collective house. Y'all are trying to have a collective increase in finances. Y'all are trying to have a collective healing in your relationship. Y'all need to put both together and make the two one. When you want to have a spiritual marriage and you doing spiritual work as a collective, you need to bring both together and make them one. This ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing new. This is not a concept I'm coming up with. Okay? I'm not coming up with this concept. This is ancestral magic. I'm not coming up with this concept. This ain't nothing new. If you know, you know. Okay? Now, again, you don't need much. So when I say, you collect your blood, you don't need much. Okay? I'm not saying that you need to walk around with a vial of blood, but if you can do, not walk around, but on your altar, have a little vial. Now, I'll tell you personally what has worked for me. Okay, y'all know I don't show my spiritual stuff, my tools on camera as much as I don't show it that much like that. But what I will say is, for me, what has worked for me is I'm a menstrual cup user. So having my menstrual cup, y'all know those little bottles that you get your oil in, like if you an oil buyer, you get oil. Recycle those little bottles. Recycle those little bottles. Okay, you don't got to buy nothing new. If you an oil purchaser, recycle those little bottles. Okay, and put it in there. If you got an old medicine bottle, okay, recycle that little medicine bottle, clean that thing out, and you could put the blood or the semen in there. And that's a good little discreet thing because ain't too many people ain't gonna be picking up nobody medicine. So you put that on your altar and you keep it pushing. You keep it pushing. And as I said, whenever you're doing your manifestation work or anything, you just add a little blood. And again, you don't need a lot, just a little drop on the paper. Just a little drop on the paper, fold that paper up. You know, put a little drop on the paper towel, tuck that paper towel in your manifestation journal. Tuck it in that manifestation journal. But that's how you know, impart your DNA. A baby food jar is good as well. Baby food jar is good. But that's how you impart your DNA. When you got special sacred crystals and you go to cleanse and recharge your crystals, okay? Just a little drop. You can literally put a little bit on your finger and just hold your crystal with it. Put a little bit on a little drop in the palm of your hand and hold your crystal. And as you recharge your crystal while you holding it, you setting your intentions, you infusing your intentions in it. It's in there with your DNA. If anybody was to ever try to pick up your workings, anybody, you say you dropped the crystal, anybody try to pick it up, you all up over it. Your energy, it ain't gonna do nothing for them. It serves them no wellness because your energy is all up on that thing. That thing is protected. There's nothing they could do against you. It's protected. It's sealed. So that's what it is. It's a seal. It's a bond. A spiritual seal. A spiritual bond. Okay? So that's what it's about. And that is a part of ancestor veneration. That when our blood is our continued life force. It's our one linear life force amongst our ancestors. When you carry that blood, you're carrying the blood of your ancestors. But you're also carrying the same blood that your future generation's gonna carry. Okay? You carrying the DNA of your future generation, spiritually or physical. So that's the power of the blood. That's also the power of the semen. Okay? That's what it is. All right? So that's my little share for the night. That's my little share when it comes to ancestor veneration as a form of reparations and us making sure that our venerating our ancestors is how we can have spiritual reparation for our ancestors. Okay, keep that in mind. Ancestor veneration is spiritual reparations. We expect that from no one else. I feel like when it comes to physical reparations, we always expecting that from other people. Spiritual reparations is on us. It's on us. So let's make sure that. Let's respect each other's identities, no matter where you feel your ancestors come from. One thing we got in common is that blood. No matter where you feel like your ancestors descended from, you got that blood. Honor your ancestors, venerate your ancestors, be mindful, be mindful, be mindful, be mindful of ensuring that you are gatekeeping, even sometimes if it's against your own folks. Make sure that you are respecting when other people gatekeep against you. That includes white folks, okay? Like I said in the TikTok live, I've been to a Wicca ceremony. Let me tell you, I'm going to just share this and then I'm going to get up off here, okay? Because we almost at an hour. I shared in the TikTok live how I have, because somebody asked, that somebody had stated in the comments, that was why I was responding about that. In the comments, somebody had stated how they was like, I can't take on spiritual advice from white folks. And I said, let me tell you something. This is how I feel, right? White people got some dope magic. They got some dope magic. When you look at look at their Celtic traditions and Celtic magic, when you look at Wicca and things like that, they got some dope things that they be doing. I've gone to a ceremony with some Wicca sisters, so Wicca witches. I've been there, okay? It was me and one other black girl. Everybody else was white. It was nothing but white girls. And they was doing some things that I was like, oh, wow, this is dope. It's beautiful. But you know what I loved, what I enjoyed the most, is that they was doing their thing, we was doing our thing, and we was doing it as a collective. Never once did they say, hey, show us how to do that. Show me how to do that. Why are you doing that? They didn't ask no questions about what we was doing. They didn't ask why. They didn't ask to teach. They didn't ask nothing. They just let us do our thing. And they was doing that. And we outside, we honoring the moon, all honoring the moon in our own way. I love that. Thank you, April Day. I appreciate that. I love that. And that's what I'm for. and not just with white folks, but even with various identities of Black people, Indigenous, Native American, our Latino, Latinx brothers and sisters, with everybody. We could commune together. We could sit down and dine together, but everybody got their own plate. I ain't got to reach over in your plate. I'm enjoying what's on mine. I'm enjoying what's on mine. Thank you so much, Malia Banks. I'm enjoying what's on mine. And I think it's important that we do that. So I even urge, okay, and I'm not forcing, but I'm saying I urge, with Black folks, when it comes to addressing that question of how do you feel about white people and spirituality or white people doing this, understand that they got some dope things that they do. They do. I mean, things that I was like, oh, wow, I've never seen that. They got some dope things that they do. So allow them to enjoy themselves, huh? And we have the right to enjoy ourselves. And we could come together and enjoy ourselves together, but let's have a mutual respect. And I'm okay with being gate-kept from their stuff. Because guess what they did? We was at the moon ceremony. Yeah, thank you so much, Divine. I appreciate that. At the moon ceremony, I don't know what they was about to do, but I'm guessing whatever they about to do was some next level stuff, because you know what they did? They tapped each other and they got up and they went and they went in the house. They went inside the house and went upstairs and did some of their own thing. And then they came back and they rejoined the group. I ain't asked no questions. I didn't ask what y'all was doing or why, or can we go, why we can't go, what y'all about to do. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I wasn't trying to sneak a camera. I respect that. Gatekeep, baby. Gatekeep, baby. I like that. Do your thing. Do your thing. Whatever y'all doing, do your thing. Gatekeep, baby. You ain't got to teach me. Gatekeep. And respect when we do it too. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, Ancestor Veneration as reparations allow everybody to have their own magic, respect each other's magic, respect each other's cultures and identities, and respect each other's right to gatekeep as needed. Some things, yes, we can share. Some things we could talk about. Some things we could do as a collective. But some things are just sacred and need to be kept private. Respect is key. Absolutely, Royal Guidance. I love y'all so much. I'll see y'all soon. Ashe, ashe, oh. Love y'all, okay? I love y'all dearly. Peace.